Kansas City is the largest city in the U.S. state of Missouri and the sixth largest city in the Midwest. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the city had an estimated population of 475,378 in 2015, making it the 36th largest city by population in the United States. It is the anchor city of the Kansas City metropolitan area, which straddles the Kansas-Missouri border. Kansas City was founded in the 1830s as a Missouri River port at its confluence with the Kansas River coming in from the west. On June 1, 1850, the town of Kansas was incorporated. Shortly after came the establishment of the Kansas Territory. Confusion between the two ensued and the name Kansas City was assigned to distinguish them soon thereafter. Sitting on Missouri's western border, with downtown near the confluence of the Kansas and Missouri rivers, the modern city encompasses some 319.03 square miles, making it the 23rd largest city by total area in the United States. Most of the city lies within Jackson County, but portions spill into Clay, Cass, and Platte counties. Along with Independence, it serves as one of the two county seats for Jackson County. Major suburbs include the Missouri cities of Independence and Lee's Summit and the Kansas cities of Overland Park, Olathe, and Kansas City. The city is composed of several neighborhoods, including the River Market District in the north, the 18th and Vine District in the east, and the Country Club Plaza in the south. Kansas City is also known for its cuisine, its craft breweries, and its major league sports teams. History. Kansas City, Missouri was officially incorporated as a town on June 1, 1850, and as a city on March 28, 1853. The territory straddling the border between Missouri and Kansas at the confluence of the Kansas and Missouri rivers was considered a good place to build settlements. Exploration and settlement. The first documented European visitor to Kansas City was Etienne de Vineyard, Sieur de Bergmont, who was also the first European to explore the lower Missouri River. Criticized for his response to the Native American attack on Fort Detroit, he had deserted his post as fort commander and was avoiding French authorities. Bergmont lived with a Native American wife in a village about 90 miles east near Brunswick, Missouri, where he illegally traded furs. To clear his name, he wrote exact description of Louisiana, of its harbors, lands and rivers, and names of the Indian tribes that occupy it, and the commerce and advantages to be derived therefrom for the establishment of a colony in 1713, followed in 1714 by the route to be taken to ascend the Missouri River. In the documents, he describes the junction of the Grande Rive des Kansas and Missouri River, making him the first to adopt those names. French cartographer Guillaume Delisle used the descriptions to make the area's first reasonably accurate map. The Spanish took over the region in the Treaty of Paris in 1763, but were not to play a major role other than taxing and licensing Missouri River ship traffic. The French continued the fur trade under Spanish license. The Choute family operated under Spanish license at St. Louis in the lower Missouri Valley as early as 1765, and in 1821 the Chouteaus reached Kansas City, where François Chouteau established Chouteau's Landing. After the 1804 Louisiana Purchase, Lewis and Clark visited the confluence of the Kansas and Missouri rivers, noting it was a good place to build a fort. In 1831, a group of Mormons from New York settled in what would become the city. They built the first school within Kansas City's current boundaries, but were forced out by mob violence in 1833 and the settlement remained vacant. In 1833, John McCoy established Westport along the Santa Fe Trail, 3 miles away from the river. In 1834, McCoy established Westport Landing on a bend in the Missouri to serve as a landing point for Westport. Soon after the Kansas Town Company, a group of investors began to settle the area, taking the name from an English spelling of Kansas. Quote, in 1850, the landing area was incorporated as the town of Kansas. By that time, the town of Kansas, Westport and nearby Independence had become critical points in America's westward expansion. Three major trails, the Santa Fe, California, and Oregon, all passed through Jackson County. On February 22, 1853, the city of Kansas was created with a newly elected mayor. It had an area of 0.70 square miles and a population of 2,500. The boundary lines at the time extended from the middle of the Missouri River south to what is now 9th Street, and from Bluff Street on the west to a point between Holmes Road and Charlotte Street on the east. American Civil War. The Kansas City area was rife with animosity just prior to the U.S. Civil War. Kansas successfully petitioned the U.S. to enter the Union as a free state that did not allow slavery under the new doctrine of popular sovereignty. Missouri had many slaves. Slavery sympathizers crossed into Kansas to sway the state towards allowing slavery, at first by ballot box and then by bloodshed. During the Civil War, the city and its immediate surroundings were the focus of intense military activity. Although the First Battle of Independence in August 1862 resulted in a Confederate victory, the Confederates were unable to leverage the win in any significant fashion, as Kansas City was occupied by Union troops and proved too heavily fortified to assault. The Second Battle of Independence, which occurred on October 21–22, 1864 as part of Sterling Price's Missouri Expedition of 1864, also resulted in a Confederate triumph. Once again the victory proved hollow, as Price was decisively defeated in the pivotal Battle of Westport the next day, effectively ending Confederate efforts to regain Missouri. General Thomas Ewing, in response to a successful raid on nearby Lawrence, Kansas, led by William Quantrill, issued General Order No. 11, forcing the eviction of residents in 4 western Missouri counties, including Jackson, except those living in the city and nearby communities, and those whose allegiance to the Union was certified by Ewing. Post-Civil War. After the Civil War, Kansas City grew rapidly. The selection of the city of Leavenworth, Kansas, for the Hannibal and St. Joseph Railroad bridge over the Missouri River brought about significant growth. The population exploded after 1869, when the Hannibal Bridge, designed by Octave Chanute, opened. The boom prompted a name change to Kansas City in 1889 and the city limits to extend south and east. Westport became part of Kansas City on December 2, 1897. In 1900, Kansas City was the 22nd largest city in the country, with a population of 163,752 residents. Kansas City, guided by architect George Kessler, became a forefront example of the City Beautiful movement, offering a network of boulevards and parks. The relocation of Union Station to its current location in 1914 and the opening of the Liberty Memorial in 1923 provided two of the city's most identifiable landmarks. Robert A. Long, president of the Liberty Memorial Association, was a driving force in the funding for construction. Long was a longtime resident and wealthy businessman. He built the R.A. Long Building for the Long Bell Lumber Company, his home, Corinthian Hall and Longview Farm. Further spurring Kansas City's growth was the opening of the innovative Country Club Plaza development by J.C. Nichols in 1925, as part of his Country Club District Plan. Pendergast era. At the start of the 20th century, political machines gained clout in the city, with the one led by Tom Pendergast dominating the city by 1925. Several important buildings and structures were built during this time, including the Kansas City City Hall and the Jackson County Courthouse. The machine fell in 1939 when Pendergast, riddled with health problems, pleaded guilty to tax evasion after long federal investigations. His biographers have summed up Pendergast's uniqueness. Pendergast may bear comparison to various big city bosses, but his open alliance with hardened criminals, his cynical subversion of the democratic process, his monarchistic style of living, his increasingly insatiable gambling habit, his grasping for a business empire, and his promotion of Kansas City as a wide-open town with every kind of vice imaginable, combined with his professed compassion for the poor and very real role as city builder, made him bigger than life, difficult to characterize. Post-World War II Kansas City's suburban development began with a streetcar system in the early decades of the 20th century. The city's first suburbs were in the neighborhoods of Pendleton Heights and Quality Hill. After World War II, many relatively affluent residents left for suburbs in Johnson County, Kansas, and eastern Jackson County, Missouri. Many also went north of the Missouri River, where Kansas City had incorporated areas between the 1940s and 1970s. In 1950, African Americans represented 12.2% of Kansas City's population. The sprawling characteristics of the city and its environs today mainly took shape after 1960s race riots. The assassination of Martin Luther King, Jr. was a catalyst for the 1968 Kansas City riot. At this time, slums were forming in the inner city, and many who could afford to do so left for the suburbs and outer edges of the city. The post-World War II idea of suburbs and the American dream also contributed to the sprawl of the area. The city's population continued to grow, but the inner city declined. The city's most populous ethnic group, non-Hispanic whites, declined from 89.5% in 1930 to 54.9% in 2010. In 1940, the city had about 400,000 residents. By 2000, the same area was home to only about 180,000. From 1940 to 1960, the city more than doubled its physical size, while increasing its population by only about 75,000. By 1970, the city covered approximately 316 square miles, more than 5 times its size in 1940. The Hyatt Regency Walkway collapse was a major disaster that occurred on July 17, 1981, killing 114 people and injuring more than 200 others during a tea dance. At the time, it was the deadliest structural collapse in U.S. history. 21st Century Power and Amp Light and the Sprint Center were constructed from 2005 to 2008, creating an entertainment district downtown. Both were built after a series of failed projects. The Kansas City streetcar was the first rail transit line in the region in almost 60 years, beginning operations on May 6, 2016. It was constructed after a series of ballot failures over the preceding decades. The project proceeded after a legal challenge that saw the project election validated by the state Supreme Court. Geography. The city has a total area of 319.03 square miles, of which 314.95 square miles is land and 4.08 square miles is water. Bluffs overlook the rivers and river bottom areas. Kansas City proper is bowl-shaped and is surrounded to the north and south by glacier-carved limestone and bedrock cliffs. Kansas City is situated at the junction between the Dakota and Minnesota ice lobes during the maximum late independence glaciation of the Pleistocene epoch. The Kansas and Missouri rivers cut wide valleys into the terrain when the glaciers melted and drained. A partially filled spillway valley crosses the central city. This valley is an eastward continuation of the Turkey Creek Valley. It is the closest major city to the geographic center of the contiguous United States, or Lower 48. Cityscape Kansas City, Missouri, comprises more than 240 neighborhoods, some with histories as independent cities or as the sites of major events. Downtown is undergoing redevelopment with new condominiums, apartments, offices. The redeveloped Power and Amp Light District offers indoor-outdoor shopping, dining and entertainment including bars, restaurants, a grocery store, a rooftop pool club called the Jones, a performing arts center and the Sprint Center. Downtown Midtown has become an attractive residential option. Nearby neighborhoods include historic Westport, Ivanhoe, Hyde Park, Squire Park, the Crossroads Arts District, 18th and Vine Historic District, Pendleton Heights, Quality Hill, the West Bottoms and the River Market. Two other near-downtown neighborhoods that are very popular and have unique appeal are the Country Club Plaza, South Plaza and nearby Brookside. Architecture. The Nelson Atkins Museum opened its Euro-style block edition in 2007, and the Safdie-designed Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts opened in 2011. The Power and Light building is influenced by the Art Deco style, and sports a glowing sky beacon. The New World headquarters of H&M R Block is a 20-story all-glass oval bathed in a soft green light. The four industrial artworks atop the support towers at the Kansas City Convention Center were once the subject of ridicule, but now define the night skyline near the new Sprint Center along with One Kansas City Place, the KCTV Tower and the Liberty Memorial, a World War I memorial and museum that flaunts simulated flames and smoke billowing into the night skyline. Kansas City is home to significant national and international architecture firms including H.E. Boland, BNIM 360 Architecture, HNTB, Populous. Frank Lloyd Wright designed two private residences and community Christian church there. Kansas City hosts over 200 working fountains. Notable examples are located on the Country Club Plaza. Designs range from French-inspired traditional to modern. Highlights include the black marble H&M R Block fountain in front of Union Station, which features synchronized water jets, the Nichols bronze horses at the corner of Main and J.C. Nichols Parkway at the entrance to the Plaza Shopping District, and the fountain at Hallmark Cards World headquarters in Crown Center. City Market. Since its inception in 1857, City Market has been one of the largest and most enduring public farmers markets in the American Midwest, linking growers and small businesses to the community. More than 30 full-time merchants operate year-round and offer specialty foods, fresh meats and seafood, restaurants and cafes, floral, home accessories and more. The City Market is also home to the Arabia Steamboat Museum, which houses artifacts from a steamboat that sank near Kansas City in 1856. Downtown Kansas City is an area of 2.9 square miles bounded by the Missouri River to the north, 31st Street to the south, Troost Avenue to the east, and State Line Road to the west. Areas near downtown Kansas City include the 39th Street District, which is known as Restaurant Row, and features one of Kansas City's largest selections of independently owned restaurants and boutique shops. It is a center of literary and visual arts, and bohemian culture. Crown Center is the headquarters of Hallmark Cards and a major downtown shopping and entertainment complex. It is connected to Union Station by a series of covered walkways. The Country Club Plaza, or simply the Plaza, is an upscale outdoor shopping and entertainment district. It was the first suburban shopping district in the United States, designed to accommodate shoppers arriving by automobile, and is surrounded by apartments and condominiums, including a number of high-rise buildings. The associated Country Club District to the south includes the Sunset Hill and Brookside neighborhoods, and is traversed by Ward Parkway, a landscaped boulevard known for its statuary, fountains and large, historic homes. Kansas City's Union Station is home to Science City, restaurants, shopping, theaters, and the city's Amtrak facility. After years of neglect and seas of parking lots, downtown Kansas City currently is undergoing a period of change with over $6 billion in development since 2000. Many residential properties recently have been currently are under redevelopment in 3 surrounding warehouse loft districts and the Central Business District, the Power and Amp Light District, a new 9-block entertainment district comprising numerous restaurants, bars, and retail shops, was developed by the Cordish Company of Baltimore, Maryland. Its first tenant opened on November 9, 2007. It is anchored by the Sprint Center, a 19,000-seat complex that has become a top draw for sports and musical entertainment. Elton John was the first performer to play at the Sprint Center. Climate: Kansas City lies in the Midwest and United States, as well as near the geographic center of the country, at the confluence of the longest river in the country, the Missouri River, and the Kansas River. The city lies in the northern periphery of the humid subtropical zone, but is interchangeable with the humid continental climate due to roughly 104 air frosts on average per annum. The city is part of USDA plant hardiness zones 5B and 6A, being located in the center of North America, far removed from a significant body of water. There is significant potential for extremes of hot and cold swings in temperature all year long, unless otherwise stated. Normal figures below are based on 1981 to 2010 data at Downtown Airport. The warmest month of the year is July, with a 24-hour average temperature of 81.0 degrees Fahrenheit. The summer months are hot and unbearably humid, with moist air riding up from the Gulf of Mexico, and high temperatures surpass 100 degrees Fahrenheit on 5.6 days of the year, and 90 degrees Fahrenheit on 47 days. The coldest month of the year is January, with an average temperature of 31.0 degrees Fahrenheit. Winters are cold, with 22 days where the high temperature is at or below 32.0 degrees Fahrenheit and 2.5 nights with a low at or below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The official record highest temperature is 113 degrees Fahrenheit, set on August 14, 1936 at Downtown Airport, while the official record lowest is -23 degrees Fahrenheit, set on December 22 and 23, 1989. Normal seasonal snowfall is 13.4 inches at Downtown Airport and 18.8 at Kansas City International Airport. The average window for freezing temperatures is October 31 to April 4, while for measurable snowfall, it is November 27 to March 16 as measured at Kansas City International Airport. Precipitation, both in frequency and total accumulation, population shows a marked uptick in late spring and summer. Kansas City is situated on the edge of the Tornado Alley, a broad region where cold air from the Rocky Mountains in Canada collides with warm air from the Gulf of Mexico, leading to the formation of powerful storms, especially during the spring. A few areas of the Kansas City metropolitan area have had some severe outbreaks of tornadoes at different points in the past, including the Ruskin Heights tornado in 1957 and the May 2003 tornado outbreak sequence. The region can also fall victim to the sporadic ice storm during the winter months, such as the 2002 ice storm, during which hundreds of thousands of residents lost power for days and weeks. Kansas City and its outlying areas are also subject to flooding, including the Great Flood of 1951 and 1993. Demographics. According to the 2010 census, the racial composition of Kansas City was as follows: white 59.2%, Black or African American 29.9%, Hispanic or Latino 10.0%, some other race 4.5%, two or more races 3.2%, Asian 2.5%, Native American 0.5%, Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander 0.2%. Kansas City has the second largest Sudanese and Somali populations in the United States. The Latino, Hispanic population of Kansas City, which is heavily Mexican and Central American, is spread throughout the metropolitan area, with some concentration in the northeast part of the city and southwest of downtown. The Asian population, mostly Southeast Asian, is partly concentrated within the northeast side of the Columbus Park neighborhood in the greater downtown area, a historical Italian-American neighborhood, the UMKC area, and in River Market, in northern Kansas City. The historic Kansas City boundary is roughly 58 square miles and has a population density of about 5,000 people per square mi. It runs from the Missouri River to the north, 79th Street to the south, the Blue River to the east, and State Line Road to the west. During the 1960s and 1970s, Kansas City annexed larger amounts of land, which are largely undeveloped to this day. Between the 2000 and 2010 census counts, the urban core of Kansas City continued to drop significantly in population. The areas of greater downtown in the center city, and sections near I-435 and I-470 in the south, and Highway 152 in the north are the only areas of Kansas City, Missouri, to have seen an increase in population, with the Northland seeing the greatest population growth. Economy. The federal government is the largest employer in the Kansas City metro area. More than 146 federal agencies maintain a presence there. Kansas City is one of 10 regional office cities for the U.S. government. The Internal Revenue Service maintains a large service center in Kansas City that occupies nearly 1,400,000 square feet. It is one of only 2 sites to process paper returns. The IRS has approximately 2,700 full-time employees in Kansas City, growing to 4,000 during tax season. The General Services Administration has more than 800 employees. Most are located at the Bannister Federal Complex in South Kansas City. The Bannister Complex is also home to the Kansas City plant, which is a National Nuclear Security Administration facility operated by Honeywell. Honeywell employs nearly 2,700 at the Kansas City plant, which produces and assembles 85% of the non-nuclear components of the United States nuclear bomb arsenal. The Social Security Administration has more than 1,700 1,500 employees in the Kansas City area, with more than 1,200 located at its downtown Mid-America Program Service Center. The United States Postal Service operates post offices in Kansas City. The Kansas City main post office is located at 300 West Pershing Road. Ford Motor Company operates a large manufacturing facility in Claycomo at the Ford Kansas City Assembly Plant, which currently builds the Ford F-150. The General Motors Fairfax Assembly Plant is located in adjacent Kansas City, Kansas. Smith Electric Vehicles builds electric vehicles in the former TWA American Airlines overhaul facility at Kansas City International Airport. One of the largest U.S. drug manufacturing plants is the Sanofi Aventis plant located in South Kansas City on a campus developed by Ewing-Kaufman's Marion Laboratories. Of late, it has been developing academic and economic institutions related to animal health sciences, and most recently bolstered by the selection of Manhattan, Kansas, at one end of the Kansas City Animal Health Corridor, as the site for the National Bio and Agro Defense Facility, which researches animal diseases. Numerous agriculture companies operate out of the city. Dairy Farmers of America, the largest dairy co-op in the United States, is located here. Kansas City Board of Trade is the principal trading exchange for hard red winter wheat, the principal ingredient of bread. The National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics and the National Association of Basketball Coaches are based in Kansas City. The business community is serviced by two major business magazines, the Kansas City Business Journal and Ingram's Magazine, as well as other publications, including a local society journal, The Independent. The Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank built a new building that opened in 2008 near Union Station. Missouri is the only state to have 2 of the 12 Federal Reserve Bank headquarters. Kansas City's effort to get the bank was helped by former Mayor James A. Reed, who as senator broke a tie to pass the Federal Reserve Act. The national headquarters for the Veterans of Foreign Wars is headquartered just south of downtown, with a gross metropolitan product of $41.68 billion in 2004. Kansas City's economy makes up 20.5% of Missouri's gross state product. In 2014, Kansas City was ranked number 6 for real estate investment. 3 international law firms, Lathrop and Amp Gage, Stinson Leonard Street, and Shook, Hardy and Amp Bacon are based in the city. Headquarters. The following notable companies are currently headquartered in Kansas City, Missouri. Top employers. According to the city's fiscal year 2014-15 comprehensive annual financial report, the top 10 principal employers are as follows.